My name is Aisha. I was 18 when I first entered the girls' hostel. It was not just a building. It was a world full of secrets. The hostel was old, built before my birth. The walls were painted white, but the paint was peeling like old skin. Long corridors stretched like tunnels, where every step echoed. At night, those echoes felt like whispers. When I arrived, I was nervous. I had never lived away from my parents. My father hugged me tightly and said, "Study hard, Aisha. Make us proud." My mother, with tears in her eyes, whispered, "Be careful at night. Hostels have stories, some true, some not." I didn't understand what she meant. But her warning stayed in my mind. The warden, Miss Shabnam, gave me a room key. Her eyes were sharp, and her voice was cold. She said, "Lock your door before midnight. Do not wander in the corridors." I wanted to ask, why? But something in her face told me not to. My room was small. 2 beds, 2 tables, 2 chairs. I was supposed to share it with another girl, but she wasn't there yet. I unpacked my books, my clothes, and my diary. I sat on the bed and looked around. The window was old, with iron bars. From outside, the wind made a whoosh sound, like someone breathing. At dinner, I met other girls. Some were laughing, some were quiet. But everyone spoke in low voices, as if afraid. One girl, Hina, whispered to me, "Don't believe everything you hear. Some girls make up scary stories." Another girl, Samra, leaned closer. "No, it's real. Last year, a girl disappeared after midnight. They found her shoes, but not her." I felt a chill run through my body. I wanted to laugh, to say they were joking. But their eyes were serious. That night, I wrote in my diary. First day in hostel. Strange atmosphere. Everyone seems scared of nights. Why? I locked the door, switched off the light, and lay down. The hostel was silent, too silent. At midnight, I heard something. A soft knock on my door. Talk, talk, talk. I froze. My roommate hadn't arrived yet. Who could it be? I wanted to ask, "Who's there?" But my lips didn't move. The knocking stopped. I thought it was my imagination. Then I heard whispers outside my door. Voices. Girls laughing. Crying. Talking. All at once. I pressed my ears to the pillow, praying for sleep. But then, my door handle moved. Someone was trying to come in. Who was at Aisha's door that night? Was it a prank by hostel girls? Or something that was not human at all? The handle shook again. Slow. Careful. As if someone didn't want to be heard. I sat up on my bed, my heart beating so fast that I could hear it in my ears. "No, Aisha. Don't open it. Don't move." That was all I told myself. The knocking returned. This time, it was sharper. Talk. 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 I whispered, almost breathless. "Who's there?" No answer. Only silence. Then, from outside the door, a girl's voice whispered. "Open. I need help." My body froze. The voice sounded young, weak, almost crying. I wanted to open the door. My heart said, "Help her." But my mind screamed, "Don't do it." I remembered the warden's words. Lock your door before midnight. Do not wander in the corridors. I stayed still, holding my blanket tight. The voice grew louder. "Please, open, please." And then, a scream. A high, sharp, terrifying scream that cut through the silence of the hostel. I covered my ears. My whole body shook. Then everything went quiet again. The next morning, I asked the other girls about it. Hina, the friendly one from dinner, frowned. "You heard it too?" I nodded. She whispered. Don't tell the warden. She hates when girls talk about nights. What do you mean? I asked. Hina leaned closer, her voice shaking. Every year, one new girl hears something. Some follow the voice. Some open the door. Those who do, never come back. I felt my stomach twist. Disappear? You mean, run away? Hina shook her head slowly. No. They just vanish. At breakfast, another girl, Samra, joined in. I knew a girl. Her name was Sana. She shared a room right down the hall. One night, she heard someone crying. She opened her door. In the morning, her bed was empty. Her books, her clothes, everything was still there. But she wasn't. I looked at their faces. They weren't joking. I laughed nervously, trying to hide my fear. Maybe her parents took her away. Samra whispered back. Her parents came searching. They never found her. That evening, my roommate finally arrived. Her name was Zoya. She was tall, with sharp eyes and a serious face. She didn't smile much. When she entered, she threw her bag on the bed and said, "Hi. You must be Aisha." I nodded. She looked at me carefully and asked, "Did you hear anything last night?" My heart skipped. "Yes, how did you know?" She sat down and sighed. "Because it happens to every new girl." That night, I felt safer with Zoya in the room. But as the clock neared midnight, the fear returned. I prayed under my breath. The hostel grew silent again. The same sound of wind outside. And then, the knocking started. Talk, talk, talk. This time, both of us heard it. Zoya looked at me, her face calm but her eyes sharp. "Don't move. Don't answer." The same weak voice came again. "Open, please, open." But Zoya did something shocking. She stood up and went to the door. "No." I whispered. "Don't." But she put her finger to her lips, asking me to stay silent. She slowly touched the door. The handle was moving from the other side. Zoya pressed her ear against it. Her lips moved. She whispered something I couldn't hear. Then suddenly, she shouted, "Go away." The knocking stopped. The voice vanished. And the silence returned. When Zoya came back to her bed, I stared at her. What was that? Who was it? She lay down, pulling the blanket over her head. Her last words before sleep were, "It's not human, Aisha. Remember that." What does Zoya know about the hostel's hidden nights? Why does she act as if she has faced this before? And what will Aisha discover when curiosity pushes her to find the truth? The next morning, I couldn't stop thinking about Zoya's words. "It's not human, Aisha." Her voice still echoed in my head. At breakfast, I tried to ask her again. "What did you mean last night? Who was at the door?" She looked at me with tired eyes. "Forget it. The less you know, the safer you are." "But," I insisted. She cut me off. "Trust me. Curiosity is dangerous in this hostel." Her tone was final, but my mind refused to stop. Later that day, I went to the library. The hostel had an old section, filled with dusty books and broken chairs. No one really came there. I asked the librarian, a quiet old lady with glasses. "Excuse me, do you have any records about this hostel?" She raised an eyebrow. "Why? Students don't usually ask about that." I forced a smile. "I'm just curious. The building looks old." She hesitated, then whispered, "Be careful, child. Curiosity can bring shadows closer." But finally, she gave me a dusty file. The file revealed something chilling. The hostel was built 50 years ago, but it wasn't always a hostel. It used to be a boarding house for orphans. As I turned the yellow pages, one headline caught my eye. Mysterious death of a young girl in boarding house, case unsolved. The article said a girl named Nausea died in the building. Some said she killed herself. Others believed she was murdered. The night she died, other children reported hearing her crying in the corridors. My hands trembled. Was the voice we heard hers? That evening, I showed the article to Zoya. She read it, then slammed the file shut. You shouldn't have looked this up. Why? Don't you see? This explains everything, I said. But Zoya shook her head. Her voice lowered, almost like a warning. That's just the beginning. There's more. Every year, one girl hears Nausea's voice. If she answers, if she opens the door, Nausea takes her away. My skin crawled. Why us? Why here? Zoya looked at me, her eyes heavy with secrets. Because this hostel was built on her grave. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing faint whispers, even though the door was locked. I prayed under my breath. But suddenly, I heard something different. Not at the door. This time, it came from inside the room. A soft sob. A girl's cry. I sat up quickly. Zoya was asleep, her back turned to me. But at the corner of the room, near the window, I saw something. A shadow. Small, fragile, like a girl sitting on the floor with her head in her hands. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The shadow lifted its head slowly. I couldn't see her face, but I felt her eyes on me. Then, in a broken whisper, she said, "Why didn't you open the door? Who is the shadow girl in Aisha's room? Is she Nausea, the lost soul of the hostel? And what secret is Zoya hiding about her connection to this spirit?" The shadow's whisper froze me. Why didn't you open the door? My lips trembled. I wanted to shout, to wake Zoya, but my voice was locked in my throat. The figure in the corner shifted. Her hair was long, falling over her face. Her body was thin, almost like smoke. She whispered again, louder this time. "Aisha, why didn't you open?" My heart stopped. How did she know my name? I clutched my blanket tightly, shaking. Finally, I forced myself to scream. "Zoya! Wake up!" Zoya turned, confused and sleepy. What happened? I pointed at the corner, my finger trembling. There. Look. She's here. Zoya's eyes widened. But to my shock, she didn't scream. She didn't even look surprised. Instead, she whispered softly. "Go back, Nausea. Not tonight." The shadow froze. Then, slowly, it melted into the wall, disappearing like smoke in the wind. I stared at Zoya, horrified. You knew her?" Zoya sat on her bed, her face pale but calm. "She comes every year. You're not the first to see her." The next morning, I followed Zoya out of the hostel. I couldn't stop asking questions. What's going on? Why does she know my name? Why do you talk to her like you've met her before? Zoya stopped walking. Her eyes filled with something I couldn't understand, fear, pain, maybe guilt. Then she said quietly. "Because I did. I knew Nausea." My mouth fell open. "But, she died 50 years ago." Zoya looked down. "No. She didn't die 50 years ago. That's just what they wrote in the papers. The truth is different. And only a few of us know it." That night, I couldn't rest. I kept replaying her words in my mind. I knew Nausea. Around midnight, I heard soft footsteps in the hallway again. The knocking started on someone else's door. Then, faintly, I heard crying. But instead of staying in bed, I stood up. I wanted answers. I slowly unlocked the door, ignoring the pounding of my heart. The corridor was dark, lit only by a weak yellow bulb. At the far end, I saw her. A girl in a white dress, standing with her back to me. Her hair was long, covering her face. She was barefoot, her feet pale against the cold floor. She whispered, "Aisha." I froze. How could she see me without turning? Then, she lifted her head, just slightly. Her voice cracked like glass. "Don't trust Zoya." Before I could breathe, the bulb above me flickered and burst. The corridor turned black. Why does the spirit warn Aisha against Zoya? Is Zoya protecting her, or hiding the darkest truth of the hostel? The next night will bring Aisha face to face with the secret that no one dares to speak. The corridor was pitch black. I couldn't see anything. But I could feel her. Her presence was heavy, pressing against my skin. I whispered, trembling. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" Touched. A breath touched my ear. Cold. Soft. Her voice cracked like broken glass. "My name is Nausea. They locked me here. They silenced me. But I never left." My throat went dry. "Why me? Why are you following me?" The silence stretched. Then she said something that made my heart stop. "Because you're like me. Innocent. New. Alone. They won't protect you. Especially not Zoya." The bulb flickered back on. The corridor was empty. When I returned to my room, Zoya was sitting awake on her bed. She looked at me, her eyes sharp. "You opened the door, didn't you?" I couldn't lie. "Yes. I saw her. She spoke to me." Zoya stood, pacing the room. "What did she say?" "She said, not to trust you." For the first time, Zoya's face cracked. Her calm mask broke, and I saw fear. She grabbed my arm tightly. "Listen to me, Aisha. You don't know what she's capable of. She lies. She wants to pull you in. That's what she does. That's what she's always done." Her grip hurt. "You talk like you know her personally," I said. Zoya's voice lowered. "Because I do. She was my sister." My heart thudded. "Your sister?" Zoya nodded, her eyes wet for the first time. "Nausea was my elder sister. We came here years ago, when this place was still an orphan boarding house. We had no family. Just each other." I sat down, unable to breathe. "What happened to her?" Zoya looked away, her voice breaking. "She was different. Quiet. She used to hear things. She said the walls whispered at night. Nobody believed her. They called her mad." Her fists tightened. "One night, she didn't come back to our room. I searched everywhere. The warden told me she had run away. But I knew. I knew she hadn't." Tears rolled down her face. They buried her story. They buried her body. And since then, she's been here. Waiting. I felt my chest tighten. The pieces were falling into place. Nausea wasn't just any ghost. She was Zoya's blood. But one question burned inside me. Why does she want me? Zoya looked at me, her face pale. Because every year, she looks for someone to take her place. That night, I couldn't close my eyes. Every sound in the hostel felt louder, the creak of pipes, the rustle of wind, the faint steps in the hallway. At exactly midnight, I heard her again. The crying. The whispers. But this time, they weren't outside. They were inside the room. I turned slowly, and my blood turned cold. Nausea stood between my bed and Zoya's. Her long hair covered her face. Her white dress was torn and stained. Her head tilted slightly as if her neck was broken. She reached out her hand toward me. Her voice cracked in the air. "Come with me, Aisha. Leave her. She betrayed me." I glanced at Zoya, who was frozen, her face pale as death. "Don't touch her." Zoya screamed. Nausea's voice shook the walls. "She let me die. Is Zoya guilty of letting her sister die?" Will Aisha believe Nazia's cries, or Zoya's warnings? The truth is about to rip open, and it will change everything Aisha thought she knew about the hostel's hidden nights. Nazia's scream rattled the windows. She let me die. Her shadow stretched across the walls, crawling like black smoke. The air grew heavy, cold, almost impossible to breathe. I was trapped between them. Between the living sister and the dead one. Zoya stepped forward, her voice shaking but strong. That's not true. I tried to save you, Nazia. I begged them to let me find you. But they locked me inside. I couldn't. Nazia's voice cut her off, a haunting echo. Lies. You left me. You watched them take me. Her words pierced the room like knives. Zoya's face crumbled, guilt flooding her eyes. I was just a child. I couldn't stop them. I was helpless. Nazia turned her head slowly toward me. Aisha, do you see? She abandoned me. She chose silence over blood. Don't trust her. Come with me. I'll protect you. Her cold hand reached closer. The air around her smelled of damp earth, like a grave. I shook my head, tears blurring my vision. I don't understand. Who took you, Nazia? What happened that night? The shadow stilled. For a moment, the crying softened, replaced by a broken whisper. The warden. She said I was cursed. She said I infected the other girls with fear. So she dragged me away. Locked me in the basement. I screamed for days. But Zoya, she never came. Zoya clutched her head, sobbing. That's not true. They tied me up. They threatened to kill me if I spoke. I loved you, Nazia. I still do. The room shook. The lights flickered violently. Nazia's shadow loomed taller, her voice filled with rage. Love? If you loved me, I wouldn't be here. Alone. Forgotten. Buried under these walls. I felt my chest tighten painfully. Both sisters were drowning in grief, but only one spoke from the grave. I forced myself to shout. Stop. Both of you. I can't tell who's telling the truth. But I know one thing, if I choose wrong, I'll never leave this hostel alive. Nazia's face slowly lifted. For the first time, I saw her eyes through the curtain of hair. They were hollow, but tears glistened there, tears of someone who had once been human. Zoya reached for me, desperate. Aisha, please. Don't listen to her. If you go with her, she'll trap you forever. That's how she survives. Every year she needs someone new. Nazia's cracked voice trembled with sorrow. She lies, she always lied. I only want peace. But I can't rest, until she feels what I felt. The walls groaned. My bed shook violently. Books flew from the shelves. The window cracked as if it would explode. I screamed. Stop it. Tell me what you want from me. Nazia's whisper turned into a cry. I want the truth to be known. I want her to admit it. That she let me die. Her finger pointed at Zoya. The lights flickered, and suddenly, the door of our room slammed open. The corridor outside was filled with whispers. Dozens of voices. Girls' cries. Girls' laughter. Girls' screams. The air filled with shadows. It wasn't just Nazia anymore. It was all of them. Who are the other shadows filling the corridor? Are they the other missing girls? And will Aisha survive the night when the hostel's buried secrets finally rise to the surface? The corridor was alive with whispers. Soft cries, muffled laughter, sharp screams. It sounded like 100 voices pressed together, all begging to be heard. I clutched the doorframe, my knees weak. Zoya pulled me back, but my eyes were fixed on the shadows moving outside. Shapes of girls filled the hallway. Some were small, some tall. Some crawled on the floor, others stood with broken necks, twisted shoulders, torn dresses. But all of them had hollow eyes. One stepped forward. Her voice cracked like dry leaves. We were forgotten. Another whispered. They took us. One by one. A third cried. Every year, a new girl, chosen. I shivered violently. These are the missing girls? Nausea's voice rose above the others, echoing from the walls. They are mine. The ones who opened their doors. The ones who believed. The ones the world will never find. Zoya grabbed my arm desperately. Aisha, listen to me. Don't believe them. They want you. If you let them touch you, you'll never come back. But the girls reached out their hands. Cold, trembling, desperate. Help us, take our pain, free us. One of them, a thin girl with half her face burned, whispered directly into my ear. Don't let her fool you. Zoya knew. She watched. She stayed silent. My head spun. Too many voices. Too many truths. I shouted. Stop. I can't understand who's right, who's wrong. Why me? Why are you all coming to me? Nausea appeared in the middle of the corridor, her face pale and broken, her eyes fixed on mine. Because you are the one who listens. You are the one who sees. The others were too blind, too afraid. But you can speak for us. The air turned freezing. My breath came out like white smoke. Zoya stood in front of me like a shield. You won't take her. I won't let you. The shadows hissed, their whispers turning into angry wails. The corridor shook, doors banged open and shut, and the ceiling lights exploded one by one. Nausea pointed at Zoya, her voice thundering. She betrayed me. She betrayed all of us. She let them bury the truth. And now, she must pay. Zoya's body trembled. She screamed back. I was a child. I couldn't stop them. You think I don't live with this every single night? I never forgot you, Nausea. Never. The shadows wailed louder. The walls bled with black stains, dripping like ink. Nausea's voice cracked, almost like she was breaking apart. Then let her feel what I felt. Lock her. Silence her. Alone. Forever. She stretched her hand toward Zoya. The other spirits followed, dozens of pale arms reaching forward. Zoya fell to her knees, sobbing. Aisha, help me. I stood frozen between them. On one side, Zoya, trembling, guilty, human. On the other, Nausea, broken, betrayed, calling for justice. And around them, the forgotten girls, begging for release. The corridor grew darker, collapsing into shadows. I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just their fight anymore. If I chose wrong, I would become one of them. The corridor howled with voices. The lights were gone. The floor trembled under my feet. Zoya clung to me, shaking, her voice broken. Aisha, don't leave me, please. Nausea stood in front of the shadows, her white dress glowing faintly in the darkness. Her eyes were fixed on her sister. She abandoned me. She abandoned all of us. End it now. Dozens of hands reached out, pulling at Zoya, dragging her toward the shadows. She screamed. No. Aisha. Don't let them take me. I froze. My heart was tearing apart. On one side was Zoya, guilty but alive. On the other was Nausea, broken but vengeful. And around them were countless girls, lost, silenced, trapped in the hostel's walls. I shouted. Enough. Stop this madness. But the voices grew louder. The spirits cried in unison. Choose, choose, choose. My chest tightened. I thought of my mother's warning, the warden's cold eyes, the missing girls' empty beds. This hostel was not just haunted. It was a graveyard built on secrets. I stepped forward, tears streaming down my face. I can't take sides. Both of you are victims. Zoya was a child, Nausea was betrayed. And all of you, I pointed to the shadows, were silenced. The air went still. For the first time, the whispers quieted. I whispered. You don't need revenge. You need peace. You need to be heard. I pulled my diary from under my pillow. My only comfort since I came here. Trembling, I tore out page after page and began to write. Every word Nausea told me. Every story the lost girls whispered. Their names. Their pain. Their truth. My tears blurred the ink, but I kept writing. I'll tell the world. I'll tell your story. You won't be forgotten anymore. The corridor glowed faintly. The shadows paused. The girls looked at one another, their hollow eyes softening. Nausea stared at me, her broken face trembling. You, will tell them? Yes, I whispered. I promise. The shadows began to fade. One by one, they dissolved into mist. Their cries softened into sighs, then into silence. But Nausea remained. She looked at Zoya. For the first time, I saw not rage in her eyes, but sorrow. You left me, she whispered. Zoya sobbed, her hands trembling. I never stopped loving you. I never stopped hearing your voice. Forgive me, Nausea. Please. Nausea's head tilted. Her shadow wavered, softer now. She reached out a pale hand toward Zoya's cheek, just once, like a sister's touch. And then, she was gone. The corridor was empty. The lights flickered back on. The hostel was silent again. Zoya collapsed to the floor, crying into her hands. I held my diary close to my chest. It was heavy now, filled with voices, filled with truths. For the first time, the hostel felt lighter. But deep inside, I knew. The curse wasn't broken. Not completely. It was now my responsibility to carry their stories, to speak the words they were never allowed to. Because if I stayed silent, the hidden nights of the girls' hostel would return. Weeks later, I left the hostel. But I didn't leave empty-handed. My diary became my weapon, my voice, their voice. Every page carried a name. Every word carried a cry. And when people asked me, why do you write about ghosts? I simply answered,